people like me. You need people like me so you can point your fingers and say, that's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy.
Okay, we'll start with this. Few recent comments from Hall of Fame fighter Holm, who said, I don't see myself as a selfish person unless it comes to wanting all the belts. I'm still on a mission, can't stop, won't stop. All the belts.
She wants undisputed?
Initially, when Holm first mentioned returning to the sport of boxing, I thought it was just for 1 or 2 belts maybe, at a weight where she never won a belt before, the lightweight division. Holm has held titles at 140, 147, and 154, but she never held the title at 135. If she beats Stephanie Han early next year on the undercard of Serrano vs. Cruz, that would effectively make Holm a 4-weight world champion, sporting a professional record of 34 wins with 2 losses and 3 draws, 9 knockouts, having been knocked out 2 times. In 39 professional bouts, I believe that she will become a champion again in her 40th against Stephanie Han. But when you start talking about the other belts, the other champions, when you start talking about undisputed, that is something else.
I think that Holly is an amazing athlete, not just an amazing boxer or mixed martial artist, but both. She is someone I hold in very high esteem. Now at 44 years old, I still think she has enough to beat a Stephanie Han. Though after that, it gets precarious.
Ring craft can sometimes be enough to beat another fighter. Ring craft by itself, ring savvy. Remember that Holly does have more experience than anybody with a belt at 135 right now. More fights, more rounds in the bank, thus, more experience. I think she can beat Stephanie Han for the WBA title, and I've said that before, after which I would expect her to then fight Terry Harper for her WBO.
I think that's a tougher fight than the Stephanie Han fight. Somewhat winnable, though still tougher.
Terry Harper is a more experienced fighter than Stephanie Han, a few years younger than Stephanie as well, and certainly younger than Holm.
Yeah, Holly's 44 going on 45.
The reason I think the fight might be somewhat winnable, though, is I remember Terry Harper's fight with Cecilia Brækhus, who's around the same age as Holm, and Terry couldn't beat her.
No, they fought to a draw.
Time on her side and all, being the noticeably younger fighter, Terry labored with a 40-plus Cecilia Brækhus, so she might labor with a 40-plus Holm. So I expect if Holly beats Stephanie, then she'll fight Terry, and maybe she wins. Though if she does, I believe that's where she hits a wall. The other 2 champions at the weight, WBC champion Caroline Dubois, IBF champion Beatriz Ferreira, they have a lot in common, these 2 fighters, and what they have in common makes them both lethal to a Holm, who's noticeably more experienced than they are, but also noticeably older and perhaps slower. Their rapid-fire combinations, their strength, their ferocity, I think either Caroline or Beatrice would overwhelm Holm. Ring craft would not be enough to win her those belts, win her those fights. So if what she's thinking about now is an undisputed run, I think the buck stops there. She can beat Stephanie and maybe Terry,
but not those 2.
The way to beat an older fighter is to make him feel like an older fighter. The way you do that is to make the fight physical, push the pace, press the issue, back them off, force them to work when they don't want to exchange when they don't want to move when they don't want to, and Father Time will do the rest.
I'm a big fan of Holm. I have been for years, and as stated, I think she can at least beat Stephanie and maybe Terry, but against either Beatrice or Caroline.
Physically, they are too much for a 44-year-old Holm, and that's what I think. In men's featherweight news, Rafael Espinoza, who will be seeing action this weekend, versus Angelo Leo unification bout in 2026, Crosshairs, If only they would have thought of this sooner.
That's what he should have tried to do this year.
But I guess the conditions were not ideal enough. With global representation among champions and a stream of recent quality bouts providing an extra boost, the featherweight division is enlivening and poised to conjure memories of its glory days as title defenses and more beckon, as Mexico's favored Rafael Espinoza takes a home country WBO title defense versus Arnold Calzaghe this weekend, and IBF champion Angelo Leo accepted a February 21st homecoming title defense versus South Africa's Laredo Dlamini. The champions are plotting a 2026 unification. Boxing scene has learned. New Mexico's Leo is pointing to an Espinoza bout should both fighters take care of business in their upcoming fights, sparking the glamour division that has other significant activity pending. On December 6th, WBC featherweight and two-weight world champion Stephen Fulton of Philadelphia challenges WBC featherweight champion O'Shaquie Foster on the PBC pay-per-view card headlined by Isaac Cruz versus Lamont Roach. PBC is expecting to send former champion Brandon Figueroa against WBA featherweight champion Nick Ball in the near future as well, with Figueroa positioned as Ball's mandatory. The effort to stage Leo versus Espinoza has been simmering for a while, said Leo's father, Miguel, and ProBox TV chairman and boxing scene owner Gary Jonas said he's pushing for that unification.
It's about time they started doing
I
that.
was saying it just the other day. All the champions at 126 are staying away from each other. Likely because they've been waiting for Inoue to move up. And I've been telling you, that guy's not about to move up. So you guys better get busy and take out the competition so that when he does move up, he doesn't have as much to choose from. The Dlamini fight is a legitimate, good fight. What I would call a very respectable defense of Leo's belt going into the unification, Gary Jonas said. Espinoza is a staggering 6'1" with a 74-inch wingspan that has provided him advantages while posting 3 consecutive TKOs as he goes into this weekend's defense against Arnold Calzaghe, who bounced back from a March 8th ProBox TV loss by decision to Joet Gonzalez by defeating Laborio Solis via unanimous decision in Berlin. Leo became champion with a 2024 Knockout of the Year candidate versus Luis Alberto Lopez, then ventured to Japan this past May to defeat Tomoki Kamita via majority decision. It's a really good, fun fight, said an official at Espinoza's promoter Top Rank. Certainly an excellent matchup. Certainly something we can discuss after Leo fights Dlamini in February. So you got confirmation from both sides right there. You've got confirmation from Gary Jonas that they're trying to do it, and you've got confirmation from somebody at Top Rank who chose to remain anonymous. As Top Rank endures the absence of a broadcast deal after its union with ESPN ended during the summer, Espinoza and several Top Rank contenders and prospects and champions will fight this Saturday on Top Rank Classics Fast Channel. Top Rank chairman Bob Arum has indicated a new broadcast deal will be in place in early 2026 in time for a possible Leo versus Espinoza unification.
Another golden nugget in this article, that by early next year, Top Rank's broadcast situation will have stabilized.
Earlier this week, they announced the Xander Zayas versus Abbas Baru unification set to go down in Puerto Rico, and that much we knew, that when Xander returns, it'll be in a homecoming fight, but they didn't provide any broadcast info, and you wonder that they're not waiting until next year to divulge that fight will be shown via Top Rank's new broadcast partner, whoever that partner is. NBC and Peacock almost immediately came to mind, but I don't think the door is closed for them to keep working with ESPN either, just under different circumstances.
I don't think that door is closed.
Whatever the case, according to Bob, early next year, they will announce who their new broadcast partner is, and a part of that future is trying to stage an Espinoza versus Leo fight. Now, first addressing this weekend's action. Rafael is going to fight Arnold Calzaghe, and I think he's going to beat the brakes off of him. I do. I think he's going to beat the fuck out of that kid. Keep his belt and move on.
At which point, it's then on Angelo Leo to hold up his end of the bargain in late February. Though ideally,
on that schedule, they could do the fight between Rafael and Angelo right then and there. Why do this keep busy fight, this tune-up fight for Angelo?
Because he only fought once this year. That was back in May. And it's been 7 months since then.
They don't want him to go into a Rafael Espinoza fight with any ring rust off a stint of inactivity. That's what the logic is. So you're looking at a fight between Rafael and Angelo, likely in the third quarter of next year. Angelo's gonna fight in the first quarter, likely rest in the second, then return to action in the third, hopefully against Rafael. Who I think wins? I think Rafael wins. It's hard to bet against a guy with that much power and overwhelming size. So much height.
Yes.
So much length.
Yes.
So much strength.
Yes.
He's the most dangerous man at 126.
I don't think nobody at 126 punches harder than this guy.
Nobody.
And he's so fucking tall. Just to try and get close to him, to try and land some punches, you're gonna come under heavy fire. No matter what attributes and characteristics you may bring to the table with other fighters, with Rafael, you're all on the same boat because he towers over all of you.
So you all end up in the same position, trying to get close to this guy as best as you can and getting lumped up for it.
An uphill battle for Angelo Leo, but I do want to see it. It is a fun fight, as they described, and beggars can't be choosers.
And if this year was a testament to anything, it's that young Angelo Leo does not have the luxury of choice, because if he did, well, he would have fought more than once. He's got to take the opportunities as they come. And if Top Rank is giving him an opportunity to unify, guess he better take it.
Unless somebody else gives it to him.
What he did was great, but I think a lot of it is down to I think Canelo, man. I don't know, I think you can't really put like a peak Roy Jones in with people making a point of would he have beat Roy Jones? Come on, man. It's like, no. I think he done great going that way. He's a great fighter, Crawford, but I don't know. On one fight against the Canelo, I didn't think really turned up that night. I know you can make a point, I suppose, because you just beat Canelo, but I just don't think Canelo's the fighter he was, is he? Judging on that.
Were you impressed with Crawford, or you seem more disappointed with Canelo than you were impressed with Crawford?
Oh, I was impressed. Yeah, I was impressed with Crawford. I thought he done great. He's a great boxer. I think he fought the right fight, but also it was a combination of Canelo. I didn't think, didn't really throw any punches. He's flat-footed. He's quite flat-footed, but yeah, he done well. Putting the best pound for pounds. I mean, super middleweights ever. I'm not sure about that.
What does it mean?
A second look at Joe Calzaghe's recent comments about Canelo Alvarez's standing as a super middleweight and an all-time great, but not just him, Terence Crawford, for having beaten him. I think if you would have asked around before this fight, most people would have told you that Joe Calzaghe is one of the better super middleweights that division has ever seen, an all-time great in his own right.
That if you had to come up with a grocery list of names of who were the best super middleweights that division has ever seen, Joe's name would be in there, Andre Ward's as well.
Can we agree on that? That Joe and Andre are two of the best super middleweights the division has ever seen. Though if we agree on that, does that not make Canelo Alvarez one of the best as well, since he did something that they didn't? Canelo Alvarez does have an extensive body of work as a super middleweight. He's been campaigning there since late 2020, roughly 5 going on 6 years.
Not only did he become the inaugural undisputed champion of that division, the first of its kind, but he defended the undisputed crown several times. So on that predication, is he not one of the all-time great super middleweights for doing something that Joe didn't do, that Andre didn't do?
I would say that he is. Though with Terence, it is a bit more contentious, because Terence doesn't have a body of work at 168. Outside of the one fight with Canelo, he didn't do anything there.
Can you be an all-time great at a weight for having only one fight there, just one fight? Even if it was a big one, does that make Terence an ATG super middleweight? I would say no.
Now, I think that Terence Crawford is one of the best fighters to ever lace them up. And in a general sense, I believe he's an ATG. But I wouldn't say he's an ATG super middleweight for the same reason I don't say Floyd Mayweather is an ATG junior middle. Floyd only had about 3 fights as a junior middle. The Oscar De La Hoya fight, the Cotto fight, and the Canelo fight. But outside of those 3 fights, there was still a lot of food left on the plate. A lot of guys that he didn't fight, like Demetrius Andrade, Erislandy Lara, Paul Williams, Sergio Martinez.
You didn't fight the Chalo brothers.
The point is that Floyd didn't really have a body of work as a junior middleweight, so while he is an all-time great fighter, he's not an all-time great junior middleweight. And I think the same applies to Terence. The win over Canelo is a huge one. It's big, and it's enough that you can consider Terence an all-time great, though not necessarily an all-time great super middle. He didn't do enough at super middle, and we know that he's not going to, that if he chooses to fight on, it'll be at a lower weight. He's not staying at 168.
So maybe Joe is onto something when he's talking about Terence. I kinda get it, but I also sense the tinge of what I've been talking about.
What?
That these guys like Joe Calzaghe and Andre Ward, who did their best work at 168, they don't really like that somebody else came in after them and did something that they didn't do. Andre Ward used to like Canelo Alvarez. In the days of Canelo versus Golovkin, Andre Ward would often sing his praises.
Remember?
Up until Canelo moved up to super middle.
Then it's like Andre Ward, he stopped liking him. He started being critical of him. He liked him up until he moved up to 168. Now think about Joe's evaluation of Canelo versus Crawford, and the point that he keeps driving is that Canelo is not now who he used to be. So you're essentially saying that Terence fought a diminished Canelo. It's almost like you don't want to give him credit.
Then look at what he said about Canelo, that he doesn't think Canelo is an all-time great fighter.
You know, I've seen people's reactions to that clip, and there's an overwhelming amount of people that think it's a bad take, it's a bad boxing take, so if it's so bad, why did Joe make it? Could it be that Joe doesn't like that Canelo and Terence became undisputed at the same weight he used to campaign, except he didn't do that?
He never held all the belts all at once.
I think that Joe's saying what he's saying because he feels somewhat overshadowed by Canelo, and to a lesser extent, overshadowed by Terence, that these two guys became undisputed at the weight where I did my best work.
They did something I didn't do, and that's going to put them in the history books. When they think back on who were the undisputed champions at this weight, my name ain't going to come up, but theirs is.
I sensed a tinge of resentment there from Joe, that he's not really giving Terence his flowers for beating Canelo, but he's not giving Canelo his flowers for ruling this division either. And Canelo ruled super middleweight for years.
It wasn't a one-and-done situation like what you saw with Terence. He fought all the champions, took all their belts, then defended undisputed successfully several times.
Though you'd never know it how Joe talks about the guy. So I maintain, I think that Joe is threatened by Terence's legacy and Canelo's, and that's why he's saying what he's saying.